When we tell you that people have sold their souls to Saturn, many people think it is conspiracy theory. They think it is something that has just been, framed. People don't understand what they are talking about, but I understand what I'm talking about because I was initiated and I saw Saturn with my eyes. The other thing I saw is that Saturn has two appearances. He can look like a man and then he can look like a woman. So even when you look at the satanic symbols, the Baphomet symbol, he's male and female. And that's why they are pushing this gay agenda. Now they have stopped calling themselves the LGBTQ. Now it's a queer community.
I'd like to thank my beautiful husband, my beautiful 3 children who are at home watching. I'd like to thank the queer community for your love and for inventing this genre. God bless you.
I witnessed when I was in the kingdom of darkness. I witnessed in Satanist kingdom, they have an altar in the middle of a certain huge hall. In this hall, this is the source of their power, where they get their power from. It's a very huge hall. I cannot describe how big it was because it would expand depending on how many people are going to attend a ceremony when they are going to sacrifice. And on the side of the hall was a prison where they would cage babies. I don't know where they were getting these babies from, but one thing I know is that some of these celebrities are funding orphanages, especially in Africa, where they have children that are brought to those orphanages, and then they take those children to those places for sacrifice. So I saw many babies in those cages. They were putting them in cages like you can put a dog in a cage or a cat in a cage. Those cages that are made with metals, and they are just squatting in those cages and holding onto those bars, and they are crying. They are so desperate. They are starved for some time. And then they place those children on that altar and they start defiling them. They start sodomizing these kids. They start beating them. Some of these children, they would get them and bash their heads on the wall until, I don't know how to explain it, until you cannot see that this was a head. That is how bad Saturn was. And they would sometimes place them on an altar and pierce them and pull out their hearts and eat. These are people who have sold their souls to the devil. And even in their music, some of them perform rituals when they are singing in their videos. They perform rituals. You see those rituals of blood, them act in their music videos with dead bodies, and you see them taking photos when they are eating a heart and blood is dripping. We'll be showing you some of the things so that you understand what I'm talking about. These people do these things in real life, and that is the source of their power. That is where they get their power from. They are evil. They have gone to that extent where they don't have, their hearts have been hardened. They don't feel anything. They don't have emotions, because any human being with a soul will feel sorry for a child, even if the child does not belong to them. But because they have sold their souls to the devil, they are under control. They are being controlled by the enemy. They do everything that Satan wants. And I'm sorry guys, remembering those things it's so terrible, because
man, it's interesting that you said that, because Jesus spoke these exact words. Jesus says in Luke 17 verse 1 and 2, "Then said he unto the disciples, It is impossible but that offenses will come. But woe unto him through whom they come. It were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and he cast into the sea, than that he should offend one of these little ones." So Jesus was talking about these little ones. He was talking about children. And what Jesus was saying was that he knows that the kingdom of darkness functions by the blood of innocence.
Yeah.
So sorry that you had to see that, but
Yeah, it's so terrible. People, when I'm talking about this, is because I just want you to get saved, and I want you to escape the traps of the enemy. Satan is the worst being you can ever work for. He's the worst being you can ever find yourself with. You don't even want to be any closer to him. I would witness these babies screaming in pain. They would scream, crying. These are orphans, you know. These people come as if they are so kind, as if they are so caring, and then they use people who are desperate for money. They give them some money. They register orphanages and NGOs, and then they start trafficking these children, and then they take them in those cages, and then from there they would sacrifice them. They would some of them, they would just use them and steal their stars and steal their destinies by sodomizing them. And then they bring them, of course, even if they brought them into the limelight, their stars have been taken, and it is a celebrity shining with another person's star, and these children are enslaved. They are being sodomized. They are being you find a celebrity has adopted a child and turned, if it is a boy, turned the boy into a girl. You don't know what happens behind the scenes. Those children are traumatized. The things they go through behind the scenes are terrible. I cannot stand talking about them in detail, but that bashing of their heads, and you see life coming out of a child, blood spreading. And when they would do that, these wizards, they would do that in a hall where they have assembled wizards. Now when they do that, they hide their emotions, and when their emotions are high, they start cursing God, they start cursing people, they start making declarations, because they know that the words that we speak create. So they start saying whatever they want to be seen on our planet. They start making declarations on businesses. They start, those now who can create sicknesses, that's when they are high, and that's when they come up with sicknesses and viruses and bacteria. That's when the wickedness increases. So life is spiritual. It starts there in the spiritual realm, and now whatever we see manifesting here physically is just what took place spiritually. So from that whole everybody who is initiated into Satanism has to pass through that hall. That is where they told me to sacrifice my brother Evans, who follows me. He comes after me, and my mother, and their blood was supposed to be presented on that altar. And that altar, every one of them has to drink of it, including the one that has sacrificed. You saw a celebrity come out and say, my mother was sacrificed.
But they can't control me. You see, it ain't no name I won't name. It's up. And I'm taking no disrespect from nobody. So let's get on the phone. Let's talk that out. I don't care who you are. I ain't taking no slice from nobody. Right? I ain't taking no slice from nobody. It's God. That's the only person that I serve. My mom ain't here. My mama was sacrificed. My mom ain't here. My mama was sacrificed.
That is what the devil does. He will ask them to sacrifice the people that they love the most, and drink their blood. So it's not just about killing the person, it's drinking their blood, covenanting them, because Satan is the accuser of brethren. Even when he tells you to kill them, he wants their blood to be on your head. So for you to convince him that you're part of it, you have to drink from it. And that thing is tormenting. It can traumatize. That's why they lose their mind. They imagine you killing your mom, and they give you your mother's blood to drink. Imagine how traumatizing that can be. Not only do they do that, they have to sodomize them. So this thing you're hearing about the queer community is not something that we can just laugh about. As a church, we've got to do something about it, because the enemy, Saturn knows. He knows what he's doing. The other thing I saw while I was there were the demons. Many times we read about demons and we think it's just something, we thank God he has not allowed us to see certain things, because if we had the ability to see the things that we cast out in the name of Jesus, some of you would have heart attack. In fact, a certain artist sang before he died, he had said he gave his soul to the devil, but he said, "You give me heart attack, you turn me upside down." The things that they see, those people that have sold their souls to the devil, are horrible. And thank God, Christians, you cannot see these things. God has just protected you from trauma. I saw demons. You can see a being that has eyes all over. You can see a skinny being with mouth everywhere on the head, ears everywhere. And to make matters worse, even them, they are excited when they see a human being. You know why? Because we are created in God's image. They have a glimpse of who God is like when they see us. So when they come to us, the human beings, they want to touch us, to feel our skin. They want to drink our blood. They want to drink life from us, because our life empowers them. They don't have life. They cannot function on this planet without us, the human beings. So when they drink blood, they are drinking our life, so that they can now be able to function in let's say every generation is greater than the other. The things that my father can do now, I can even do greater things than he can do, because his generation is weaker.
When God fed the children of Israel with manna in the wilderness,
yes,
so that means that angels have food that they eat. That means that they require sustenance. They need to feed. But now the question is God feeding them? No, we know he's not feeding them, because Jesus told us that a kingdom divided against itself will fall. So God cannot supply the food for his enemies. And so then what are they feeding on? They are feeding on humanity and the life that God has put inside of all flesh, including animals, the life that God has put inside of human beings and any mammal and anything that lives that God has created. They want to take life from that. They steal life, the life force. And so that's amazing that you mentioned that. And then God did mention in the book of Genesis that from dust you are and to dust you shall return. That's what he told Adam. And then when he cursed the serpent, he said, "Cursed are you above all animals, on your belly shall you go, and dust shall you eat all the days of your life." So the consumption of flesh by the powers of darkness, it is consistent with what is written in the scriptures. Although it's not what the Father desires, but that was the consequence. That was the consequence of sin.
Man turning his back.
Yes. And do you know what? It implies that those that live in sin become food for the serpent.
Yes. Yes. In fact, those people who have joined the queer community,
yes,
the women end up getting cervical cancer.
Yes.
Cancer of the uterus. The men get cancer of the colon.
Yes.
And cancer is when the bacteria are eating
from the inside.
Yes.
The person is rotting from the inside.
Yes, yes. And the Bible clearly states that the wages of sin is
death.
Yes.
And so when you commit that sin, you give Satan the legal right
to destroy you.
Yes.
The way the kingdom of Satan is built, it's built like in cages. And in these cages, there are huge rocks like gates. And when we were entering that cage, they opened 7 gates. Demons, I'm talking about demons opening the 7 gates for us to enter. And then when we entered is where we got to that hall. And in front of that hall is where I saw the throne of Saturn. And this throne of Saturn is built in form of a pyramid. And behind that throne was a mouth of a serpent open, with 2 fangs on top, and a tongue that came down all the way to where we were, like a red carpet. And this tongue came from beneath the seat, because Satan's throne is on top of the pyramid. So from beneath that seat is where that tongue would flow all the way to where we were. And the eyes of the serpent were real. When you see them covering that one eye and do all those symbols, they are telling you that they are in the brotherhood. They have sold their souls to the devil. When you see them throwing the sign of the pyramid, they are telling you that they worship Saturn. They exalt the one that is sitting on that pyramid. And the other thing that I witnessed with my eyes is that Saturn hates humanity with a passion. He hates us. He cannot stand us, but he has nothing to do. So his mission for us is to destroy us.
You mean when you say he has nothing to do?
He cannot do anything about us.
He can't do anything about that.
Yes.
Okay.
He did not create us. Even if he tries to destroy as many people as possible, there are those. I saw many companies, and I saw many organizations that pose like they are for humanity, like for our rights.
Human rights.
Organizations. Those organizations that World Food something, Health something. You know, so many organizations. I don't want to mention them because they know how to censor videos. But a person of the spirit understands what I'm talking about. And I was so shocked. I said, I thought these people were for us. I thought the founders of these organizations had passion for humanity. Even those organizations that were posing as if they are for peace, as if they are to unite nations, as if I realized that these organizations belong to Saturn. I grew up in a Christian family where I took things for granted. Every time I would have a nightmare, instead of calling upon the name of the Lord, I would call mommy to come and pray for me. So parents, empower your children, teach them how to pray for themselves. Yes, it's okay if they trust you, if they call for help from you whenever they are in trouble. But it's very important that you teach them that the only way for them to survive is when they call upon the name of the Lord. Because the Bible says that those that call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Now, the thing that shocked me the most is one day we organized that hall that I was talking about, and we were going to have a meeting, and Satan was going to chair that meeting. And guess the people I saw? The so-called big men and women of God. Those ones that I had been seeing on TV before I got initiated. Most of them, I had seen them on TBN. I saw these brands, these pastors coming for a meeting, and Satan was chairing the meeting. And I was shocked. The way my mother loved some of them, even my dad, the way some Christians almost worship them. In fact, talking about these pastors, some Christians can hate you. I witnessed these pastors there in the kingdom of darkness. They were cheering, they were sitting in that meeting, and Satan was giving them instructions on how to deceive many, if possible, even the very elect. And now you're beginning to see them. Of course, they are also in support of the queer community. They will not speak openly. Yes. To declare the word of the Lord concerning the abomination, which is homosexuality. Yes. Yeah, they are so quiet on it. They are so nice to everybody. They're politically correct concerning that message. Yes. So I was so shocked. I saw big names. These are pastors who have private jets. These are pastors who have mega buildings, mega churches. These are pastors who have traveled all over the world. These are big, big names.